On today's Strictly Vikings, we recap the Vikings Texans game as our Minnesota Vikings are 3 and 0. That's crazy to say. We're going to take our side eye look around the league. Of course, we'll do our Facebook scroll. This is easily the best one yet. Easily the best one yet. We're going to look ahead to our game against the Packers. It's Packers week, baby. And of course, we'll end it off with our Chat GPT player of the day. Let's get into it. Today is Wednesday, September 25th, and the Minnesota Vikings are legit. And when I say legit, I mean Super Bowl contenders. And before you call me crazy, hear me out. I saw a video. It was a TikTok, but listen, just because you saw it on TikTok doesn't mean it's not real. So let me get into the details here. It was a study that was done by, I think it was PFF or somebody, but it was identifying common factors in Super Bowl contenders year in and year out. Basically, what do all these teams have in common? The first thing is a passing attack, whether it's by quarterback or by scheme. The Vikings are more scheme based right now, but hey, Sam Darnold's been balling. Maybe it's just Sam Darnold. The number two thing was a congruent offensive line. Am I saying that right? Congruent? I think that's the word I'm looking for. Congruent. Yes, congruent offensive line, which the Vikings have. Two great, experienced tackles, two guards, and a center that have been playing together. Brandell hasn't been starting for the Vikings, but he's been on the team for a while. And these five guys have chemistry. And that's one of the most underrated parts about an offensive line is having chemistry. It takes time to feel one another out. No Diddy. If Darrisaw's left tackle and he's playing with Brandell, it takes a while to feel that out, but they have that. They have that chemistry. The next one was a player that's able to rack up 3+ sacks in a playoff series. The Vikings have that. I think they have a couple guys that could do that in Van Ginkel, Grenard, and Turner. And then a reasonable, I forgot the exact word they used, but reasonable secondary or a deep secondary, which the Vikings now have with Gilmore, Murphy, Griffin, and then, of course, our three excellent safeties. And it honestly makes sense. You look at the last couple Super Bowl winners, and of course, it's Mahomes is the big thing, but good offensive line, passing attack, Chris Jones, and L'Jarius Sneed, and they got those other guys in the secondary, and it makes sense. You look at the Lions, contenders last year, legit contenders. They had a passing attack, they had a great offensive line, they had a deep secondary for the first time in years, and they have Aiden Hutchinson, a guy that can get 3+ sacks easy in a 4-game, 3-game stretch, whatever it may be. So before you call me crazy, that is a very common research project, I would call it, in determining Super Bowl contenders, and the Vikings check all those boxes. And of course, you can just say that because of the way they've been dominating teams, some of the best teams in the NFL, some of the best offenses in the NFL, the way this defense has been absolutely dominating. And of course, we're going to get into it right now, actually. So here's some of my general notes from the Vikings Texans game. Coaching is at its peak in the NFL right now. You look at all the teams who are undefeated. Seahawks, rookie head coach, but still good, and the Seahawks haven't played the best of teams. Vikings, Kevin O'Connell. Chiefs, Andy Reid. Steelers, Mike Tomlin. Bills, Sean McDermott. All excellent coaches, and it's showing. And you need a good head coach to succeed in this league, and sometimes your talent is high enough to where you can make up for some bad coaching, aka the Eagles, to where they have terrible coaching and their talent makes up for a lot of those games. I mean, coaching almost single-handedly lost them that game against the Saints on Sunday. But the Vikings are probably the most well-coached team on the offensive and defensive side of the ball in the NFL behind the Chiefs. That's the only coaching duo or offensive defensive coordinator, whatever you want to call it. I know the head coach is calling the plays. That would be ahead of the Vikings right now. And that's very exciting to hear because that means as long as KOC is in purple or gold, I know he likes to swag himself out sometimes. As long as he is in Minnesota, it feels like the Vikings are going to be competitive and it feels like that window is going to be open. Of course, you need good players, and of course, you need, you know, a lot of other things to win a Super Bowl, but man, it all starts with the head coach, and there's nothing more proving than this season right now. Um, and I mean, B-Flow against one of the best offenses in the entire NFL just absolutely bottled them up. It was unbelievable how frustrated CJ Stroud was. And he's a CJ Stroud is a CJ Stroud is a ball knower. He knows ball and he watches film. And for Brian Flores to go out there and scheme up a game plan that has him completely puzzled after CJ Stroud watched a week of film, you're telling me he couldn't figure out one thing about this Vikings defense that he could maybe capitalize on or take advantage of? Brian Flores had all that figured out. I mean, he's playing chess and the rest of these guys are playing checkers. I know it's cliche, but Brian Flores knows what the quarterback's going to watch in film. He's going to know what the quarterback is thinking of what he can take advantage of. And Brian Flores is immediately going to take that away on Sunday. I mean, it was right from the jump that these boys were flying around. And this defense is arguably the best in the league. They might not have the names of the other NFL defenses, but my God, they got the depth, the playmakers, and just the way they fly around. And of course, they have the coach. It's so fun to watch. Um, KOC said after the game, for budget reasons, we can't give out game balls to all the fans, but they all deserve one. Fantastic job by the fans on Sunday. 3 false start penalties in a row, and technically 4 penalties in a row because they had an illegal formation. But 3 false starts in a row is crazy. I have never seen that in an NFL game. I've seen it in college. I've been in games at the college. I've been at Kinnick multiple times, and they've gotten 3 false starts because of how loud they are. But I have never seen that in an NFL game before. And I'm sure it's happened, but I have never seen it. And that was awesome to see. And then my general notes, I'm going to go more in depth on this offense defense stuff, but it was great to see Stephon Diggs interacting with all the Vikings players after the game. He's a great guy. I think he's really just competitive and he loves winning. And I don't blame him for that. And I think sometimes when the camera's on him on the sideline, it can put an image into people's heads of who Stephon Diggs is as a person. I think he's a great guy. All right, let's break down the offense first. Sam Darnold, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. First time he's done that in his career. He only threw 28 pass attempts, and that is perfect for this team. I do not want Sam Darnold throwing the ball 40 plus times for the Vikings. I don't want to see that. I want to have a balanced run, pass attack that keeps the defense on their heels, and that when the run game is clicking, everything opens up in the pass game. And I love to see that. I did have a note in here that you do see the flashes of Sam Darnold every once in a while of why Sam Darnold wasn't successful for the first 6 years of his career. You see the flashes of that, but that's all right. It's okay to see that every once in a while. Aaron Jones had 148 all-purpose yards with a touchdown. Underrated signing of the year. And running backs are back. People were trying to write off the running back position, saying kids shouldn't grow up playing running back. They don't get paid, blah, 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 blah. The running back is back. And they're back in a way that's different than any other time it's been in the NFL. They're being used in multiple schemes, ways, and Aaron Jones is a great running back for this Vikings team. Dynamic, what he's able to do, stretch the defense. It's amazing to see. I'm glad he's in purple. Revenge game. We're going to get to it a little bit later, but revenge game for him this weekend. I'm expecting him to have a big game or for the Packers to load up so he can't have a big game. But I think Jones is loved. So Man, you feed the ball to your best player and great things happen. Justin Jefferson looked amazing. Besides those couple drops, I'm not too worried about that jammed finger. I think that jammed finger made him drop those 2 passes, at the end of the game, but I think he'll be alright. It's a big game for him with Jair Alexander lining up on the other side, so I think he'll be alright, but man, getting the ball to your best player, good things usually happen, and you have to continue to feed Justin Jefferson no matter what. Jalen Nailor, 3 touchdowns in 3 games. Powell stepped up at times. Everything is going great for this Vikings wide receiver room. And I think it's giving Addison a little more flexibility to come back and rest up. 2 weeks of rest now. He might be playing this week in Lambeau. We'll see about that. But it's great to see that this depth of the wide receiver room is showing. Because do you guys remember the days when the Vikings had no wide receivers? Like we drafted Laquan Treadwell days, Greg Jennings days, pre Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs days. Like the Vikings were just scratching and clawing and digging at the bottom of the barrel for anyone to play wide receiver and to make an impact at wide receiver. And now it's like we got 4 or 5 dudes that are out here balling. I mean, again, shout out KOC. He makes these guys play excellent ball. But we got some studs in the wide receiver room. The offensive line played great. I was looking at some clips on Twitter of just them absolutely clearing out that front 7 for the Texans. I mean, they were making holes the size of trucks for Aaron Jones, and man, it's great to see. You need to have that chemistry in the offensive line, like I was talking about, and I love to see it. Ed Ingram, I'm off your ass now. I'm not talking about you, Ed Ingram. I'm talking about you in a good way, Ed Ingram. I know I've been on this podcast and tore you apart, and it frustrates me sometimes, but Ed Ingram, you're doing all right, buddy. You're not getting noticed as much as you used to, which might not be saying much, but it's still progress. So I'm proud of you, Ed Ingram. The scheme to start the game and the start of the second half was amazing. I mean, I know the Vikings got a short field on the first possession of the game, but that second possession and from pretty much there on out in the first half, the scheme was amazing. And then it stuttered out a little bit, but then KOC made some adjustments at half and it looked great. And I think that's what KOC is so good at. He's so good at watching the film, knowing what's going to work. And if the defense reacts in a certain way, he knows exactly what to do if they react this way. If they're going to cover this, we got this. And all that. I mean, KOC is awesome. And man, Will Reichard. I know I was making fun of someone for saying that the Vikings have a franchise kicker on Facebook Scroll of the Week last week. Man, they might have been right. 58 yards, and that John had 8 yards. That John was 8 yards up the upright when it went through. 58 yards. It had 8 more yards. I'm telling you, that thing might have been good from 70. He's a beast, and I love to see it. He's got a huge leg. No diddy. Huge leg. No diddy. Defense. My light just went out. Don't know why that happened. Kruger Hill filling in for Pace. He made a play right away. I was hesitant to see him play, and I was hesitant about him filling in for Ivan Pace because Ivan Pace makes a big impact for this team, and I'm not sure what Hill was going to bring, but man, he brought the juice, making plays all over the place. He played awesome, and I love to see it. I've already given B-Flow his flowers, but man, Stroud was stressed, and I haven't seen him like that probably in his first however many games he's played, but I've never seen Stroud like that, but he was stressing. John Grenard being blocked by a tight end. I mean, the Texans can't be any stupider. The Texans can't be any more stupid. They had a tight end trying to block John Grenard, arguably our best pass rusher. And they were putting a tight end on him. Do they not realize John Grenard played for them last season and had a good season for them? Do they? I'm honestly so confused on why they think a tight end would have been able to block John Grenard. 3 sacks. He went off. against his former team who didn't game plan for him. Coaching doesn't make any sense. D'Amico Ryans, you got to be better than that, man. You thought a tight end was going to be able to hang? Get out of here, man. Gilmore continues to make savvy veteran plays, and it continues to shock me every single time I see him in the secondary that he's on the Vikings. Every single time I see him in purple, I'm like, oh yeah, Stephon Gilmore plays for the Vikings. I just forget that. And it's not that I'm not paying attention. It's just like, it's just more of shock. Like, Stephon Gilmore plays for the Vikings? I That's basically what it is. I mean, whatever. Um, I wrote down, it's nice having a long blonde hair guy like Van Ginkel out there making plays, because whenever I see guys like that, or like a play is made against the Vikings with a guy with long blonde hair, I get so mad. I hate seeing those long, luscious locks, Clay Matthews, Anzalone. I hate seeing those guys sack Vikings quarterbacks. But it's also great to have one of those guys being able to sack quarterbacks for the Vikings. So I can't really put my finger on it if I'm pro long blonde hair guys or not. I think I think it's still out on me making the decisions, but anyway, having Andrew Van Ginkel is sick. And I love seeing those luscious locks flow all over the field. No diddy. Most sacks throughout the first 3 games of any team since the 2001 Saints. That's crazy. That's 23 seasons. The Vikings got the most sacks through 3 games. I believe it's 16. That is awesome. The standard is high for this Vikings team. I have very high expectations of what I'm going to be seeing for the rest of this season. And I know it's only been 3 games, but listen, 3 wins in dominating fashion against somewhat against good teams, Giants, whatever, but Giants won a game and we dominated them. We dominated the Texans. 49ers, Texans, Super Bowl aspirations, and the Vikings beat them both. And now my other light just went out. What the hell? But I have very high expectations for this team. And I hope it keeps going. And I think it will keep going because the way they're winning games, it's not a fluke. And I'm excited about that. All right. I'm going to fix this light. I'll be right back for the side eye look around the league. All right. Light's fixed for now. We'll see what happens. It just keeps, I don't know. I don't know what do you want me to do? Light. All right. Side eye look around the league. Every single week, this segment starts out with Caleb Williams because I'm interested. This is a guy the Vikings will have to play 2 times a year. So I'm interested to see how he looks. How he looked better, but not good. He threw for a lot of yards. A lot of those were a Hail Mary and garbage time at the end of the game. So still not calling him the greatest rookie quarterback of all time by any means, what some people were saying it's going to be. But I don't blame him. I mean, their offensive line is the worst in the league, and Shane Waldron is just not him. Let me tell you. The clip of Jackson Smith and Jigba, I believe it was him, being asked, what is Shane Waldron going to bring to the Bears and what can the Bears fans look forward to? And he was just puzzled on what he could say. He was like, I don't know. He was like, he's a good guy. And it's like, whenever you're saying a dude is a good guy and not talking about his football performances, you know he's bad or you know there's something wrong. So I'm not blaming Caleb Williams. He doesn't look good. I still think he's going to be good, but not as impressed as I thought I would be to start the year, to say the least. That Lions hook and ladder was insane. I mean, that's a fun play. And I get it's the Lions, and I don't mind the Lions unless they're playing the Vikings. I was hate watching that NFC Championship game really hard last year because I guess I really do not like the Lions. I mean, I don't mind them. They're not the Packers or the Bears. The Lions are they're third in the NFC North, like, hatred list. I mean, they're third. The Vikings might be ahead of them some weeks, I tell you. But I think they're good. they're going through some injuries right now. Frank Ragnow, Minnesota native, if he's hurt, he has a torn pec, and if he's out for a while, that's going to be a big blow for this team. Excuse me. The center is what drives that offensive line, and Frank Ragnow is one of the best in the league. And if he's out, this team might struggle. But the Lions are good. Let's just put it that way. They're built very similar to the better teams in the league, the Vikings, the Niners. They're built like that, and I think they're going to be good for a while. Um, but the injuries could catch up and maybe slow that down. Marcus Davenport's out for the season. Who would have freaking thought? Marcus Davenport, the one-hit wonder of the NFL, come in for a couple weeks, be good. Fans get excited. Oh, maybe we did actually sign a good guy, an impact player on defense. Nope, you didn't. He got hurt. He's going to take the money and run. And all things aside, I hope he's all right. I hope he's healthy. But when this happens all the time, it just seems like, is it really a coincidence? I don't know. But he got hurt. Whatever. Of course, the Packers play the two worst teams in the NFL when Jordan Love goes out with an injury. I mean, people are amping up the Packers, and I get it. They're very well coached. They're dominating these teams. But again, they face the Titans and the Colts. Those got to be two of the worst teams in the NFL. And I'm not amping, and I'm not saying the Packers are bad. But my God, they played two of the worst teams in the NFL when Jordan Love got hurt. And of course, if Sam Darnold, our starting quarterback, would have gotten hurt week 1, we would have freaking been Niners, Texans, back-to-back weeks. And it wouldn't have been any problem because the Vikings are just that much of a juggernaut. But still, it's just that Packers luck, man. I tell you, that would never happen to the Vikings. The Vikings quarterback would never get hurt, and we would never have 2 layups following the following week. It just wouldn't happen. It would not happen. But like I said, Matt LaFleur is a good coach. I'll give him that. But NFC Championship game, down 8, and he decides to kick a field goal with Tom Brady on the other side. Dumb move. Good coach, dumb move. Jaden Daniels, Offensive Rookie of the Year. I've had this take for a long time. I don't know who I told, but I know I told someone that he was going to be the best quarterback coming out of this draft. He's a beast. He gets better every year. He's developed. He's smart. And he's got all the tools to be good. People were knocking on his throwing, and I'm like, why? Just because he can run doesn't mean he can't throw. This dude is an absolute problem. And I saw a stat today. Jaden Daniels has had 2 games in his career, 2 out of his 3 games, where his team didn't have to punt and they didn't have any turnovers. All scoring drives. That is unbelievable. I saw a stat and it was like Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger don't even have more than 1. And Jaden Daniels has 2 out of 3 games. Shout out Cliff Kingsbury, man. He still got it. Jaden Daniels is a dog. He's going to be a dog for a long time. It sucks that he's in the NFC, but I tell you, he's going to be one of the best players in the NFL in a couple years. He's really good. And if you watch that Monday Night Football game against the Bengals, those throws he was making, that deep ball is vicious. Vicious. The Bills are a wagon. They might be better than they were in previous seasons. Josh Allen is looking great. They don't have the premier weapons like they did in the past, but Kincaid is good. Shakir is good. Coleman is good. I mean, this offensive line is the best it's ever been. Josh Allen is not turning the ball over. This is what it takes for the Bills to be successful, and I think they're the best they've been in the last couple of years, probably since 2021, whenever the Chiefs year was, whenever that season was. I think 2020? I don't know, 2020 or 2021, whatever it was. Meanwhile, the Jaguars are the Jags are pretty garbage. People always get mad how we say Jaguars. Jaguars. They're garbage. I've been on the Trevor Lawrence hype train for a very long time, but I think I'm finally off of it. I'm going to give him one more game. But he has all the tools to be a good quarterback. He's just inconsistent. He's tall. He's got a huge arm. He can run when he needs to. He's smart. I mean, there was a reason this dude is like one of the highest graded quarterbacks ever coming out of high school, one of the highest graded prospects ever coming out of college. He got dealt a bad hand with Urban Meyer, and Doug EP has been good, not great. That blown lead in the playoffs hurts. I think I'm going to give Trevor Lawrence one more game before I'm off the hype train. I, he's just still good. My last note for my side, I look around the league. Deshaun Watson signed he signed the best contract in NFL history for himself, but the Browns signed him to the worst contract in NFL history. Abysmal. I mean, you cannot make that up. That much money for these performances. It's not even fun football. If you're going to lose, at least give me fun football. It's just brutal football. So bad. So bad. All right. That concludes my side. I look around the league. We're going to get on to my Facebook post of the week, the best one yet. And when I tell you the best one yet, this is the best one yet. Again, I don't say any names because I don't like to call anyone out, but join a couple Vikings Facebook groups and I'm sure you can figure out who posted it. First one, time to talk about trading McCarthy. Dude, too fragile. I was the first to board the Darnold train before he signed, was met with mockery and ridicule. Funny how fast you forget. This is just filled with a bunch of lies. Because listen to this. Time to talk about trading McCarthy. First of all, bro doesn't know ball. Why would you trade your why would you trade your first round pick that you traded up for? Dude, too fragile. Bro got a knee injury. It happens. He's not fragile. Unbelievable. And then he said, I was on the first to board the Darnold train before he signed. How are you the first on the Darnold trade when he's 6 years in the league and he was one of the worst quarterbacks in the entire NFL? What train are you on? That train flew off a cliff like 8 years ago. What? That train has been destructed and destroyed for the last 6 years. And now it's finally back up and moving again. It's not going fast. It's chugging along slowly. But you can't say you were on a Sam Darnold train before he got signed. That doesn't make any sense. This dude doesn't know ball. If he's talking about trading, train and trade. I keep saying them backwards. If you're talking about McCarthy getting traded, I know you don't know ball. It's that simple. And if you're talking about being on a Sam Darnold train before he was signed to the Vikings, that is just absolutely false. What? I'm speechless. What were you even saying about Sam Darnold? He was a backup in San Francisco. Go look it up. It has 98 comments. I didn't read the comments, but I know he was getting torn up. Someone said, great pick from Quessy's first draft class, and it's Jalen Naylor and Brandon Ayuk stats side by side. I mean, let's be real. Are we seriously saying Jalen Naylor is being compared to Brandon Ayuk? I mean, listen, Jalen Naylor is a great wide receiver. I've watched him in training camp a lot. He's great, and he's awesome, and I love that he's on the Vikings. But if you're telling me a 1-for-1 trade with Brandon Ayuk and Jalen Naylor was available, you're not taking that? Come on now. It's Jalen Naylor has less receptions, less yards, and 3 more touchdowns. I don't even know what this dude's saying. Brandon Ayuk has more receptions, more yards, just less touchdowns. And it's not by a lot, but it's 3 games. Vikings fans. Anyone ever see that poll out there that said Vikings fans are the dumbest in the league? This is why. Back-to-back posts. Someone said, I don't see us losing a game this season. Hashtag Skull2Bowl. Then the next post below it. What kind of trade value does McCarthy have? This is what I'm saying. Dumbest fans in the league. Who? Come on now. Someone posted an NFL on CBS tweet in here. Said perspective. I actually like this one. Sam Darnold is still just 27-year-old. He is the same age as Joe Burrow, 1 year younger than Josh Allen, 2 years younger than Baker Mayfield, 4 years younger than Dak Prescott, 6 years younger than Geno Smith. Good to know. Good to know. Sam Darnold. Not going to be here next year, but hey, good to know he's young. Flores made CJ Stroud look like he was playing his first NFL game. If Malik Willis is the starter, Green Bay doesn't stand a chance. As much as I'd like to agree, I don't, because I think Matt LaFleur is going to have these boys coached up. And we'll get to it in a little bit, but I put this in here because this is the ultimate Vikings jinx. This is the post that Packers fans hang on to. They're in the middle of the week. And then as soon as that clock hits 0 on Sunday, they're guns a-blazing, posting the screenshots. They're doing all of it because Packers fans are just petty like that. That happened to me last season. I made a video about Jordan Love, about how I was happy that he's in the NFC North because of how bad he was playing, and he was playing awful. He was playing awful up until that Vikings game. And then as soon as I made that video, everybody got on me. And Jordan Love started playing good. And Freezing Cold Takes retweeted it. And I had a lot of angry people yelling at me. But you live and you learn, man. You live and you learn. Someone said, I want to hear from all the delusional Kirk Cousins fanboys who said this team would regret not keeping him. Hey, it's a valid call out. At the same time, you can't really make this case, but like I still think the Vikings are 3-0 with Kirk Cousins. If you replace Kirk Cousins with Sam Darnold right now, I do believe that. It's just the fact that Sam Darnold is getting paid like $30 million less. That's the difference. I don't think it's very much the skill, but it's the money. We got Grenard, we got Van Ginkel, we got all these guys. Makes the defense better. Someone said bedtime thought. Let's be real, Vikings fans. At this point, we're just padding stats and living in the shadow of real contenders. That makes absolutely no sense. What stats are we padding, brother? We're just winning games. Sure, we blew out the Texans, but we're all too familiar with that midseason collapse. I don't know. Darnold looks good now, but is he really a quarterback one, or is it just the prelude to yet another playoff heartbreak? Well, if we make the playoffs this season, that's a win on the season in all. What am I trying to say? I don't know. If we make the playoffs this season, that's a win from what people were expecting before the season. Let's just say that. Jefferson can't carry the whole team to the Super Bowl. Yes, he can. He's that good. Maybe it's time to face the truth. We're a regular season team, nothing more. Prove me wrong. P.S. Skull. See, I don't think this is a Vikings fan. P.S. Skull? That doesn't make any sense. And then literally the first comment says, dude rambles on about how much we suck, then says Skull. What a clown. Yeah. Dude sums it up. Dude sums it up just right. Someone posted, if you're not riding with us now, don't be riding with us when we're in the Super Bowl. Dumbest fans in the leagues, I tell you. But hey, that's valid. Don't ride with us now. I don't think anybody's on the Vikings bandwagon. I don't think anyone wants to be a part of this quote unquote Vikings bandwagon right now. But we're gonna see where the season goes. We're off to a great start. Vikings fans are loving it. I'm glad that they're loving it. I'm loving it. We're all loving it. It's fantastic. That concludes the Facebook Stroll of the Week. I love Vikings Facebook. It is the absolute best. I got to get on during in the middle of a game to see what people are saying sometimes. Let's move on to my punishments here. Again, if you're new, I made a season-long punishment list. You can find it on my Instagram, Strictly Leighton. And basically, if the Vikings lose a game, I have to do the corresponding punishment. They're all themed around the team. So, for example, I had to watch Apollo 13 with no drink, no phone, no food. Just had to raw dog Apollo 13 if the Vikings lost. Obviously, they didn't. I don't have to do it. This week is a 6-pack of Spotted Cow and a large cheese curd from Culver's I have to consume after this game. And I'm aware this one isn't that much of a punishment, but I wasn't planning on not having to do the first 3 weeks. I needed to give myself a couple gimmies to keep me going here. But now it's like I might never even do one of these things. Missing out on content, but I don't care. This is the best content ever. Vikings just keep winning. Can't complain about that. All right. Vikings versus Packers preview. It's Packers week, ladies and gentlemen. It's Packers week. The most hated time of the year for Packers fans and Vikings fans is next week after the game because they know how much one or the other is going to be chirping them. It's Packers week. It just means more. NFC North ball, it just means more. It's Packers week. Listen, I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart. I hope Jordan Love plays. I don't want the Packers fans to have any outs when the Vikings smoke the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field. I don't want the Packers fans to have any outs. No excuses. And honestly, I would rather have Jordan Love play. I don't think he's going to be 100%. I don't think his mobility is going to be there. And honestly, I want Brian Flores to prepare for Jordan Love. Malik Willis, if Malik Willis plays, it's over. There is no way the Packers beat the Vikings with Malik Willis starting at quarterback. I am convinced. But if Jordan Love plays, there's a chance. But I do want Jordan Love to play because B-Flow is going to scheme this up. And Jordan Love's low mobility is going to play a factor in this game. Just remember that. Aaron Jones' revenge game, he's going to go for 200. Aaron Jones, the Packers asked Aaron Jones to take 2 pay cuts. He took one of them the first year. They asked him to take another one after he finished the season as the last 6 weeks of the season, he was the best running back in the entire NFL. And they asked him to take a pay cut. And he gave him the middle finger to the face and went to the rival Vikings. You got to absolutely love that. I think he's going to go for 200. Jair Alexander versus Justin Jefferson. Jair Alexander, he had a pick 6 last week. Justin Jefferson's had a touchdown in every game. Something's going to have to give here, and it's going to be great. And I love when these two face off because Packers fans always think Alexander is the better player, and that's just delusional. I mean, if you ever thought Alexander was better than Justin Jefferson, delusional. That's just stupid. I think Packers fans like to say they don't hate the Vikings as much as they do the Bears, but I think they hate the Vikings the most out of anybody in the league. Because one, I'm in Minneapolis. There's a lot of Packers fans here. They come into our great state of Minnesota and tarnish it with their cheering of the Packers. And I hate that. Stay in your state that nobody likes, that there's nothing to do in. Stay there. Don't come to Minnesota because it's great. I know it's great, but I was born and raised here. Don't come over here just because you want to get away from your crappy state. Stay here. Or wait. I'm going to stay here. You stay there. That's what I meant to say. And I went to this game last season, and man, there is nothing better when the Vikings beat down the Packers in Lambeau. Walking out of that stadium is awesome. Great feeling. I was with 8 Packers fans in a van last year. I was the only one wearing a Vikings jersey. I love repping the Vikings wherever I am, especially at Lambeau. Great to see. I'm looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be awesome. And if the Vikings lose, listen, it's not the end of the world. People think it's the end of the world if the Vikings lose a game. It's not the end of the world. We're 3-0. We're undefeated. And if we go 3-1, or if we go into the bye 4-1, that is a excellent start to the season, especially with the games we have coming up after the bye. If the Vikings are 4-1, the Vikings could easily, and I'm not even amping, they could be 8-2 by the end of that stretch. And the end of the season gets a little more difficult. But man, the expectations for this Vikings team is high, like I've been saying. But all right, we're going to finish it off with our chat GPT player of the day. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Everybody get your random Vikings picks in. I'm going to guess Bernard Berrian. Come on. ChatGPT's lagging on me. Hold on. Name the most random Vikings player you can think of. Bernard Berrian. How about Kenane Wagwu? Wow, I actually could have gotten that one. He was a running back and return specialist for the Vikings, and he had some moments that made him stand out, especially on special teams. That's facts, ChatGPT. I actually could have got that one. I think that's the first one I actually could have gotten. Kenane Wagwu. Anybody get it out there? Someone had to say Kenane Wagwu. All right, guys, I appreciate you turning in. New episode next Wednesday. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, Strictly Leighton, for all Vikings content, a bunch of Vikings content. Appreciate you guys.